Today, I'm going to share with you what the requirements are for the US citizenship and how to become a US citizen without speaking English. In other words, how are you exempt from the English language requirement? You can visit website uscis.gov. On the main menu, click on Forms and explode My Options. Scroll down the page until you can see Become a US citizen through naturalization. Click on this link. In order to become a US citizen, you must meet the following requirements, unless you qualify for an exemption or apply based on your US military service. First of all, you have to be at least 18 years of age at the time you file the application. You have been a lawful permanent resident for at least 5 years, or at least 3 years if you're married to a US citizen. You have to live continuously and physically in the United States. Continuously means you did not take any trips outside of the United States that lasted 6 months or longer during the last 3 or 5 years. In other words, you are allowed to leave the United States, but just make sure to return within 6 months every time. If you leave the United States for more than 6 months, USCIS will presume that you abandoned your permanent residence in the United States, and they will deny your US citizenship application. Physically means you must have physically lived in the United States for at least half of 5 years, or 913 days, or at least half of 3 years, or 548 days, if you're married to a US citizen. Just so you know, when you travel outside the US, USCIS will count the days that you physically leave and return to the US. For example, if you leave on the March 10th and return on August 10th, both of those days would be counted as days that you were physically present in the US. Moreover, there is a residency requirement in order to apply for the US citizenship. You must have been a resident of the state for at least 3 months immediately prior to applying for naturalization. It means if you just moved out of state and have been living in a new state less than 3 months, you should not apply for citizenship. Next requirement is you must be able to read, write, and speak basic English. That's why during the US citizenship interview, beside the English reading and writing test, a USCIS officer may ask you small talk or even word definitions to verify your English ability. Demonstrate that you have good moral character. Having good moral character means that you did not commit any types of crimes and did not lie to a USCIS officer during your citizenship interview. That's why, during the citizenship interview, in order to judge your good moral character, a USCIS officer will review your background and ask a lot of yes or no sentences in N400 form. Next, you must demonstrate a knowledge and understanding of US history and government. In the interview, a USCIS officer will ask you up to 10 of the 100 civics questions. You have to learn 100 civics questions as a part of the preparing for US citizenship test. Lastly, you must demonstrate a loyalty to the principles of the US Constitution and be willing to take the oath of allegiance. During the oath ceremony, you will be asked to make sure you understand that you're taking the oath of allegiance voluntarily. You're giving your full allegiance to the United States and you accept all the responsibilities of a US citizen. This is a last step before you can become a US citizen. Now, I'm going to share with you some information regarding how are you exempt from the English language requirement. You may qualify for an exception from the English requirement, civics requirement, or both requirements. I will walk you through it. You are exempt from the English language requirement, but are still required to take the civics test if you are age 50 or older at the time of filing for naturalization and have lived as a permanent resident in the United States for 20 years. Or you are age 55 or older at the time of filing for naturalization and have lived as a permanent resident in the United States for 15 years. If you qualify for these requirements, you must still take the civics test, but you will be permitted to take the civics test in your native language. You must bring an interpreter with you to your interview. As a special consideration, if you are age 65 or older and have been a permanent resident for at least 20 years at the time of filing for naturalization, you will be given special consideration regarding the civics requirement. You can just study the 20 questions out of 100 civics questions that have been marked with an asterisk found at the end of each question. Lastly, you may be eligible for an exception to the English and civics requirements if you are unable to comply with these requirements because of a physical or developmental disability or a mental impairment. To request this exception, you must submit Form N648. It's called Medical Certification for Disability Exceptions. This form must be completed by a licensed medical or a doctor. That's it. I hope this helps, and feel free to ask any questions. Thank you.